Cross my heart and hope to die. Welcome to my dark side.
As Yamoshi's transformation neared its culmination, the atmospheric tension became palpable. The very ground beneath Broly's feet quaked, and the winds carried whispers of ancient prophecies. In the midst of the ritual, Yamoshi's eyes snapped open, glowing fiercely. He levitated off the ground, bathed in a fiery black aura, his hair a brilliant shade of black. Different from Goku, Yamoshi was the true Super Saiyan God. He was granted all the power and abilities that came with the title of a Super Saiyan God. Only he can wield it all in just his base form. A transformation was not needed as it burns too much stamina. Awestruck, Broly stepped out of his hiding spot, inadvertently revealing his presence. The tribal Saiyans, sensing an unfamiliar ki, immediately halted their chant and turned to face the intruder. Yamoshi, still levitating and resonating with godly energy, slowly descended and fixed his gaze on Broly. For a moment their eyes met, and a deep unspoken understanding passed between them. It was as if Yamoshi, despite being from a vastly different time, recognized the pain and isolation in Broly's heart. You see, even though Broly and Yamoshi had never crossed paths before, something mysterious had connected their destinies. It was as though an unseen force or a hidden person had intertwined their fates. But the question lingered. Who was responsible, and why had they done it? Even in Broly's weakened state, Yamoshi could sense a raw and unbridled power emanating from the Saiyan. It was a strength that the other Saiyans were entirely oblivious to. "You are not from this time," Yamoshi said, his voice carrying an otherworldly resonance, filled with wisdom and a hint of uncertainty. It was a statement, yet it begged for an answer, hinting at mysteries yet to be unveiled. Broly, taken aback and unsure of how to respond, simply nodded. "This time," he muttered to himself, his voice tinged with confusion and curiosity. "What does he mean by that?" "Do not fear," Yamoshi continued, his eyes locking with Broly's, filled with calm assurance. "I've seen visions of your arrival. The universe's tapestry is vast, and our threads have intertwined for a purpose." A pause filled the air as Yamoshi's words settled, and then he spoke again, his voice old yet powerful, resonating with the wisdom of ages. "I think I'm supposed to teach you the ways of our ancestry, the true way of a proud Saiyan warrior." The words hung in the space between them, a promise of understanding and a challenge that reached beyond time. It was an invitation to a journey that both were destined to undertake. In Yamoshi's mind, Broly was not just a remarkable Saiyan, but the very pinnacle of their strength. Never before had he encountered or even imagined a Saiyan possessing such immense power, someone who had complete control over the Ozaru form. And it wasn't just that. He could tell that Broly still had a great reservoir of untapped power within him. With the proper knowledge and training, he believed that Broly could be truly unstoppable. His sane blood boiling with anticipation, Yamoshi was not afraid. He yearned to witness it. The other Saiyans looked on, their faces a mixture of awe and suspicion. Among them, one individual stood out, presumably a Saiyan elder, his hand clutching a worn-out scroll. "It's as the prophecies foretold," he exclaimed, his voice trembling with excitement and reverence. "Reality will be rewritten on the day a Saiyan warrior bearing the mark of the Ozaru arrives from another world." He couldn't believe his eyes. These sacred scrolls, passed down in his family for thousands of years, were now coming to life. Upon the passing of his father, he had been entrusted with the protection of this scroll. You see, within that very scroll lay the knowledge of how to become a Super Saiyan God. That was how Yamoshi had learned of the Super Saiyan God ritual. Suddenly, the elder unfurled the scroll with care, revealing an ancient depiction that bore a striking resemblance to Broly. On the scroll, it was stated that in order for that warrior to become the warrior of legend, he must accept himself for who he truly is. However, what no one knew, not even the elder, was that there was a final part to the prophecy, shrouded in mystery and concealment. It was hidden, a message of warning that only a chosen few were meant to decipher. It reads, "All shall converge into one, and one shall reign supreme." You might be wondering, this sounds reminiscent of the prophecy the oracle fish mentioned in the future. But what could it possibly mean? Unfortunately, this cryptic part of the prophecy remained an enigma, a tantalizing puzzle waiting to be solved, a secret whispering from the annals of history. Upon the closure of the scroll, the room seemed to settle into a reverent silence. From that moment, this marked the beginning of a legend. This was how the myth of the Super Saiyan God and the legendary Super Saiyan was first passed down through Saiyan's history. A tale born from prophecy, sealed with destiny, and forever etched in the collective memory of a proud warrior race. The seed had been planted, a path laid out for the future, a challenge, and a promise that would shape the destiny of Saiyans for generations to come. The scene swiftly transitions to Earth. Here, Frieza, enveloped in his dark aura, reigned with unmatched might. "Beerus!" Frieza's voice pierced the atmosphere like a chilling blade. "Stand aside. Once I've dealt with this newcomer, you'll be next on my list." A palpable tension hovered over the battlefield, the air thick with the intensity of what was to come. The Z fighters, aware of their power difference, stood at a distance. Their eyes were locked onto the impending confrontation involving three vastly superior beings: Lord Beerus, Black Frieza, and the primordial demon god, Abaddon. Cloaked in his sinister aura, Frieza taunted Abaddon. "I'm coming after you, demon. Let's see if your bite is as big as your bark." Abaddon responded, his voice as cold as ice. "A true dance of death requires rhythm, little man." Abaddon's little man comment had struck a nerve in Frieza's ego. "You bitch," he roared, before wasting no time in launching himself at Abaddon with such speed, it seemed he had disappeared. Suddenly, he reappeared above Abaddon, raining down a relentless barrage of death beams. For a moment it seemed as though Abaddon was caught off guard, dodging and deflecting the oncoming assault. However, amidst the flurry of attacks, Abaddon's form shimmered, multiplying into a dozen illusions. Frieza, temporarily disoriented, blasted his death saucers, slicing through each illusion, only for them to dissipate into smoke. Seeing the futility of his initial approach, Frieza changed tactics. He used his psychokinesis to raise colossal rock formations from the earth, sending them hurtling towards Abaddon. However, the demon god, with an amused smile, shattered them with a mere wave of his hand. Lord Beerus, observing from the sidelines, couldn't help but laugh. "You sure know how to put on a show, Frieza. Remember your place," he chuckled. Frieza became irritated. "Shut your mouth," he yelled, his frustration showcasing on his face. Lord Beerus didn't take too kindly to the outburst. His eyes narrowed, and for a moment, it seemed like he might launch himself at the insolent emperor. However, a flicker of uncertainty stayed his hand. For the first time in millennia, he decided to control his temper. Beerus had heard whispers of Frieza's opponent, an actual primordial demon god, something beyond even the formidable angels themselves. His keen eyes could tell that Frieza was no match for such a foe. A chill settled in the god's spine as he considered the situation. Could he, the powerful Lord Beerus, defeat such a myth? The question lingered, leaving even him unsure of the answer. Instantly, the battle continued, each combatant matching the other blow for blow. Black Frieza seemed relentless, constantly shifting his attack patterns and employing every technique at his disposal. Yet, each time he seemed to gain the upper hand, Abaddon's appearance of taking damage was revealed to be nothing more than an elaborate ruse. Despite the ever-widening gap in their powers, Frieza held firm, refusing to admit defeat. But as Abaddon began exerting more of his energy, it became clear that this was a battle the Emperor could not win. Black Frieza was draining his energy at a rapid rate, each movement sapping his strength. The situation was growing dire. Abaddon, meanwhile, found himself growing bored with the display. It was time to put an end to this. With an air of superiority, he invoked something known only to a primordial demon god.
"Word soul magic, down!"
Abaddon commanded. At his words, Frieza's body plummeted uncontrollably to the planet's surface, crashing with a thunderous impact. Without warning, a wave of dark purple destruction energy burst forth. It surged towards its target, and to the astonishment of all who watched, it connected. Black Frieza found himself being drawn into the swirling ball of annihilation. Leaning in with a taunting smirk, Abaddon sneered, "A god does not reveal all his secrets, so-called emperor. Especially not to the likes someone who is as weak as you." At that precise moment, Lord Beerus, who was meant to merely observe, charged forward. With one powerful hand, he seized the ball of destruction, his fingers closing around its chaotic energy. The god began to pull the Kakaishin energy into his body, using a technique known as divine absorption. In mere seconds, every remnant of Abaddon's energy had been eradicated from Universe 7. I'm confused, Abaddon said, his voice tinged with confusion. Why save him? I thought you two hated each other. What can I say? Lord Beerus replied with a hint of amusement in his voice. This arrogant fool is starting to grow on me.